Parents play an important role in a child's life, but there are some parents who don't deserve to have kids. This lady left her child to wander in the street, almost getting knocked down by a car.
Sit in the back of the car. Slide in the car now.
And this 19-year-old mom literally ripped her child out of her womb.
You are not free to leave at this point.
Here are 4 times when evil parents get caught. You can always tell a man who doesn't deserve to be a father when he treats kids like trash. This man literally turned his kid into a punching bag while the mom watched helplessly. The man in this video goes by the name Randy Dickens, a producer from Nashville. He had assumed a husband role to Mia Snow, a single mom with 3 kids. Her eldest child, who goes by the name Damien, was just 6 years old at the time. One day, Dickens visited her as usual, but things went sideways when he started to punish Damien for behaving badly at school.
This video taken from a camera.
He tried putting the boy on his lap. When Damien refused to stay still, he proceeded to wrap him up like a lamb to a slaughter and begin the thrashing.
Because she says he was carrying a gun.
I tried to do things,
but it didn't end there. Dickens went ahead to do something no father ever
I didn't
should.
want nobody getting shot, and I knew that's what would have happened.
Surely, even a parent who is obsessed with disciplining a child would agree that there was enough spanking for one day. But Dickens wasn't satisfied. Even when the boy went off to the playroom, he took the violence there.
She showed them the video.
No matter how you look at it, this was extreme. And it gets even more disturbing when you hear the eyewitness reports of Mia Snow, his girlfriend.
This video, taken from a camera on the front porch, shows Dickens aggressively hitting Damien.
It seems this man had anger issues or just enjoyed beating the crap out of people. Sadly, Mia couldn't do anything because she was afraid for her life.
The right way, and I did what the police told me to do, and I didn't want nobody getting shot.
And Dickens had a gun with him. Mia's secret call to the cops and the video evidence from the camera in the front yard was what made Dickens pay for his actions. He was charged with child abuse and neglect. You know you're a bad parent when you're chilling at home and your little child is roaming around the street about to get hit by a car. This was the incident an officer was forced to handle when a Good Samaritan woman called him after she found a wandering boy in the middle of the road somewhere in Volusia. It turned out that the officer had encountered a similar incident on that same road with that same kid, so he could tell exactly which house the kid came from. The officer took the little boy back home and knocked. There was no reply, so he decided to take an official statement from the woman who had called him in.
Where was he walking? He was just walking right here?
Yeah, get ready to walk into the intersection. And I'm just coming from...
The officer then went ahead to tell the woman that he had witnessed a similar case with that same child when he was younger. He later proceeded to tuck the baby away in the back of his car away from the heat while putting up a playful attitude to calm him down.
Where's your mom at? Where's your mom?
The little man was speechless as to his parents' whereabouts and slowly began to play around in the back of the car.
We gotta try to find your mom and dad.
The officer's behavior here is very commendable. He made the lonely kid feel safe and comfortable. Any kid in this situation would probably panic and start crying. But this officer made the little boy feel at home with him, thereby preventing him from freaking out. However, the real drama happened when he finally got to question the father and mother of this kid. The woman's reaction in this clip shows that she does recognize the cop and that she doesn't care about the whereabouts of her child. A good mom would probably freak out when the cop mentioned how the child almost gets smashed by a car, but she didn't flinch. Her husband's reaction was nothing to write home about either. This cop wasn't impressed, so he had a conversation with his teammate on how best to handle the matter. He then proceeded to do what he felt was right: arrest the careless mom and dad.
You both are getting arrested, so get your kid dressed.
The woman's cries sounded like she was traumatized, or maybe she was just trying to fool the officer, but he was having none of it. Her husband's questions of why clearly show he wasn't remorseful about the whole situation. The officer showed him no mercy either.
Why am I getting arrested? Child neglect. Put your hands behind your back.
What did I do?
To be honest, this man sounded like he was high on something. Perhaps he was the reason for his wife's trauma and neglect of the kid. In any case, they were both arrested while the kid was taken away to the Florida Department of Children and Families.
That's what you were doing.
Although the actions of these parents were disgusting, it wasn't as bad as this next couple who made their kids live in a house full of poop. On one night of April 2022, police at Flagler County received a call from neighbors who had heard children screaming from inside one of the apartments on County Road 75 in Bunnell. As soon as the police arrived at the scene, what they met was like a horror movie. The screams were so loud and terrifying that the cops paused for a second. However, the real surprise happened when they went over to the house to investigate what was going on.
They're not playing.
This woman lied and said her kids were playing, but immediately the voice of her child yelling in the background said otherwise. She did her best to give reasonable answers and not act suspiciously, but the cops could tell by instinct that something was wrong.
Yeah, it's called a kid.
The woman wasn't able to explain how or why the children couldn't help screaming several times during the week. She was forced to bring the kids out for inspection, and the officers spotted red flags right away. The cop wasn't impressed by what he saw. From the outside of the house, he could perceive a terrible smell coming from the inside. The kids, too, had unchanged diapers, but there was more. The whole house seemed like a hellhole, and this officer had to explain to a supervisor why an arrest was necessary. They finally made a tough call. The arrest was well-deserved because even the sheriff of the police department said he was glad the kids were able to get out before anyone got injured or became seriously ill due to the deplorable conditions of the home. However, it turned out this woman had an arguable excuse for leaving things the way they were in her home. The woman and her husband were arrested that night and charged with child neglect. Their kids were sent off to live with a family member. Well, at least this mother was only doing the best she could with what money she had. This next mom, however, did something horribly evil. Something that would make your skin crawl. On January 27th, 2023, something shocking happened at a hospital in Mexico when a 19-year-old girl was admitted to a hospital in Mexico for back pain. It turns out she was pregnant and the pains were labor pains. But rather than go through delivery, this girl did the unthinkable. Here's body cam footage from a cop on the scene.
To herself. So the doctor started doing an exam on her.
This is a statement from a doctor in charge at the hospital. It turns out this girl knew exactly what she was doing. However, why she did it remains a mystery. This doctor saying full term means that this girl was due for delivery and rather than give birth, chose to kill the baby. Now, this was the shocking comment the doctor had to say about the girl. However, while investigating the girl, her story was something else.
Baby, tell me the truth.
Although this girl claims that the baby was already dead by the time it came out of her, there's a good chance that she may be lying. After all, the doctor in charge did say that she had been lying the whole time. What's disturbing here is that she was referring to her baby as nothing. The fact that she kept saying nothing was crying means that she may have thought to get rid of the baby for a long time. Maybe she's only sorry she got caught.
But the baby's gonna have to...
Here was her reaction when she was informed the police had been involved in the case.
I'm sorry about this, but in terms of delivering a baby and it looked like you tried to hide it, we do have to have the police involved.
And nothing was crying. It came out with nothing.
I know. But the baby's gonna have to be taken for autopsy and there'll be an investigator and everything.
Here, her cries are very questionable because she had been hiding the pregnancy all through. Even her mom didn't know she had been pregnant for a long time.
9 months? Nothing was
Now, what kind of mother would not be aware that her daughter was pregnant? Either this woman was too busy for her daughter or she's in on the crime. Most parents would scream and yell at their kids for committing a crime like this, or at least show affection for the dead baby. Her reaction is just too calm and collected. Alexei's reaction, too, seems remorseless, kind of like she was happy to get rid of the baby. The police officers had to give Alexei some time with the nurses so they could treat her wounds. It was so bad that she even had to be transported to a better facility. It turns out that she was bleeding a lot. Even the head nurse had doubts that she had a normal delivery. Although Alexei made it seem like she was the victim in the story, here's what some of the hospital staff had to say.
I probably checked on her 2 to 3 times, I'm not exactly sure. And then I just kept hearing paper towel dispenser and flushing and like the water running. And I knocked again, did she need anything? Denied anything. And then eventually it got to a point where I said, you need to come out. And I asked the clerk to get the key to unlock the door, because obviously she locked the door to go to the restroom. And whenever we finally had the key to unlock it, she opened it and just kind of walked out.
Did she say anything at that point?
She didn't say anything. She was just looking kind of straight past me and went back to the room.
Now, that's cold. She made it seem normal when in reality, she had just committed a horrible crime. This was the statement from one of the cleaners. She described the gruesome scene in more detail. Everyone else the police spoke to also described the same thing. Fresh blood on the walls and the floor of the restroom. Here's a statement from the man who found the dead baby.
The liner was pulled out, but there was another trash bag in there in the bottom, but it was all it was rolled up. So I had to tear it apart. And then, of course, I saw the baby in there. So I pulled the baby out, got him on the bed, checked for signs of life. There was absolutely no life whatsoever.
A final autopsy on the baby showed that he died after birth. And so, a few months later, Alexei was arrested at her home for murder and attempting to destroy physical evidence. Shockingly, she had gone to prom a few weeks earlier, and even when the officers came for her arrest, she showed no remorse. In fact, her mom threatened the officers. What do you think? Was it a family crime? Or just a heartless teenage girl? Let us know in the comments section. Remember to subscribe to our channel if you found this video interesting, and we'll see you on the next one.